Hey, this is Russell back again with another episode of Civilization 4 post-commentary over a campaign that I played. Actually, it's been a while. I finished this campaign before I even started this post-commentary, so it's been a minute. As you can see, I am, amassing troops or developing cities and amassing troops near the Egyptians, because I plan on conquering Egypt. It's my last major expansion I'm thinking of doing in this game. It doesn't cut out the route for further expansion. I have 64 happiness, so it's going to be way more than enough needed to be able to do this. And really, I could build more cities, I can take over more cities. There's a lot more I can do. But again, you have to play this game with what victory you're going for in mind. You have to play towards a certain victory. And I'm not really going for a big world conquest victory this game, at least at this point. It might be something to fall back on if I wasn't so technologically advanced, but I just seem to be very far in advance compared to the other people. Partly because it's more of a Prince difficulty game, but also because we just been able to push through adversity. And get through to this point in the game. So yeah, just the strategies we've employed and everything. So we're doing really well. It's technically 1722 AD, and we have already discovered things like modern stuff. We're building the Eiffel Tower and stuff. So pretty crazy. I think a radio is the technology, so we already have radios in 1722. As crazy as that sounds. I think we researched radio last time. I'm not 100% sure. I should have just looked at the tech tree when we were there. But, besides the point. So that's aside from the main point. We're just advanced, and everything's looking good. We're able to start amassing troops on the Egyptian front. You can see we kind of have a couple soldiers queued here in the capital over there where we just were. And of course we're queuing up some buildings here, just getting all of that done out of the way, and focusing on the buildings that are going to advance the empire a bit. We have some pretty good cities, and I forget if we're trading with these cities to make them grow. I think we are. I could be wrong. But they are growing pretty fast. Great engineer. That's always nice to get a hold of. We could have probably gone with the order ideology, and we could have probably saving up our great engineers and finished the spaceship parts eventually that way. But I'm going more so for the freedom ideology, just because being able to purchase the parts when we're making 367 gold per turn is going to work a bit better. Just in my eyes, I believe. So we're gunning those barbarians down. You're always going to have barbarians coming at you from areas that are unsettled, and there's typically large swaths of land that remain unsettled in this game in North Africa, just because it's mostly desert. There is reason to settle there, interestingly enough, because they tend to be filled with a lot of oil. The AI just doesn't seem to prioritize it as much as the other cities, of course, which makes sense. I mean, I have played a game as Arabia before, and I've settled tons of desert tiles and made it work very well. But you have to kind of make it work a little, in order to you have to purchase buildings and stuff in those cities to make it so that those cities are profitable and actually pay off for your empire. Again, though, you can't really go wrong with settling cities. There isn't really such a thing as having too much cities, so much as you just kind of want to focus your attention on whatever's going to pay off the most. So at the moment, it's building buildings and modifying and growing the cities that we have. But if we get all caught up and it seems worth it, getting more settlers might be a thing to consider. It's just not really a thing to consider in this game. I mean, like I said, we're so far ahead. Things are looking great for us, and there isn't really anything to worry too much about. We have pretty decent. them not settling the coast was weird to me. I haven't really seen that before. Usually they settle right up to the coast, so I was a little confused by that this game. The AI certainly has been not, as typical this game as I've seen it be in like other games. I guess I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it just was expecting a little bit of different gameplay from the people like in Arabia and Egypt and stuff like that. I was expecting the Zulus to have expanded more. I'm surprised the Ethiopians are still in the game. And yeah, building a whatchamacallit there for more production, which will help a little bit. Of course, chop down some trees as well. And yeah, things are looking good. A bit of a tip here. The way, if you notice, when the forest was chopped down, the wood went to Constantinople, even though Smyrna is an equal distance away. I believe the way that works is it prioritizes cities that are like above it before it prioritizes like the cities that are below it in where the wood is supposed to go. Like it goes in the kind of a circle. The circle kind of starts from like near the top. The way it prioritizes it, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that does make sense. I probably have to be in game to explain that, just so I could like move the mouse when I need it and stuff. But yeah, it's just something to consider. There is like a method to, or there is a formula by which the game goes to where it prioritizes sending the wood. So there's something to consider if you're doing chops. Make sure you don't chop it from the wrong city. When another city is an equal distance away. So we have some cannons. We have a couple Gatling guns. The Gatling guns are occupied with barbarians. I'm sure they're part of the Egyptian army is always going to be occupied with barbarians. And I mean, I say in Egyptian army, we see crossbows, we see chariots. I'm not worried about it. I mean, we're going to be going in with rifles soon, and Gatling guns and cannons and stuff, so there isn't really much to... I don't want to say there's not going to be any combat, because it's a war. They're still going to fire at us, and we have to make sure that we don't lose any troops, of course, because, that's a distinct possibility. With, it's very easy to get, like, a troop stuck, especially with, like, the marshes and mountains. You can't move away very fast. So it is still easy to lose troops. But at the same time, if you play it right and you play it cautious, you shouldn't be losing troops. We have a privateer, which is kind of cool, so we're using that to explore the Mediterranean a bit, see what we can discover and cover just a little bit more of the map, because we haven't done a very good job at uncovering the map. I'm not fretting about it too much, because we've kind of established regional dominance, and no one has really come out on top like us, so I'm not really too pressured to do much more exploring than I've already done. And anyways, we're teching so fast that satellites is not going to be very far off at this point. So, of course, we have our workers. We have done a pretty decent job at improving all the tiles. I mean, of course, we have to improve these new cities. We'll have to improve the Egyptian tiles. We have like a couple tiles still like in Asia Minor here and there to improve. Even a couple on like the European part of the land. I see a couple hills there that could use a couple mines. But it's we haven't been inefficient with our workers, at least. We could have maybe used like one more worker. And we would have had like everything improved by now. At the same time, there's not much of a need to have more workers than we do. We're doing good enough as this. You can really min-max this game if you want to, but this is a Prince level difficulty. And, at this point I hadn't played the game in a while, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this first one. It's a Prince level, and, it's my first time uploading to YouTube, so I don't want to, like, lose the first game I play, So I did a Prince level game. Next game, the difficulty will be bumped up a little bit more, so that we can have a little bit more competition, but, at the same time, it's, don't have to min-max it like in other difficulty levels, really. So yeah, we have Antioch there, Laodicea. Antioch, interestingly, has been converted to another religion. So something can be done about that. At the same time, it's not like a disaster. You lose science, which is a big thing. You know, with this game, because we have science from our religion, it really comes like out over time, though. Like later in the game, it isn't as important to spread your religion. It's more of like an early game thing because it'll pay off. Like if you're getting like 2 extra science per city for like the whole game. Keep in mind, so we went with like the Pantheon for like +2 science per city. There's been 380 turns. A lot of these cities have been Christian throughout like their existence, and a lot of them have or Greek Orthodox or whatever I named it, and a lot of them have, what's the word I'm looking for, been settled pretty early on in the game. Especially like the Greece region, when we conquered that, you know, that was settled really early. The whole like Bulgaria, anything like on our side of the Danube, you know, kind of European land, we settled really early on. You know, Asia Minor, we settled decently early on. So any city, like for example the capital, we probably had the Pantheon maybe like, I don't know how early, but anyways, you know, the capital, if we're to take just like, let's take 380 minus 40, so 340, capital would have given us 340 times 2, 680 science since the beginning of the game. That, and then, you know, all the other cities, and we have quite a decent number of cities all put together. You're talking like you know, a lot more science than, you know, I would have gotten otherwise. And especially when you know, you're dealing with a lot of cities, you're in a large map, you're playing like a marathon or epic game. It pays off way more in marathon than it does on this. But yeah, really pays off. I'd say it pays off okay in standard difficulty. I wouldn't really use it on quick time speed. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, the text cost is scaled on the different speeds, but I don't feel like it's scaled 100% proportionally to the amount of extra turns. I feel like the scaling works a bit differently than I just don't know. I don't think it has perfect scaling in all aspects of the game when you going between quick, standard, epic, and marathon. The worst thing about the playing on a faster speed is the fact that, you know, by the time you move your units to invade somewhere, people are already going to be like in the next era. I think that's the worst part of it. But then there's other things as well that don't directly translate. I think the best experience of this game is played on a marathon, on either like an Emperor or Mortal difficulty. I don't really have a lot of fun on Deity. Maybe it's just because I'm not good enough at the game, or maybe just because like it's just kind of challenging. I like map painting a little. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But I feel like the best experience of the game is like at a marathon speed in general. So we got the Broadway builds. At this point in the game, we can go for any one that we want and probably get it because of how advanced we are in technology. The early game wonder competition is kind of over. We have a great musician being popped. We have a new rifleman, droneman, be upgraded to Galleus to be upgraded to a frigate. And so yeah, our special unit actually paid off pretty decently, interestingly enough. I mean, it's my first time playing Byzantium, of course, I've emphasized that before. But yeah, it's interesting how our unit actually like came to be useful for war. You know, the whole war with the Greeks and everything. And after that, you know, it's just nice to have them around still. Looking pretty decent. in terms of population in a lot of our cities. A lot of them are like 15, 16, 10. Our capital was like 25 over there, I think. And population, amount of cities and stuff like that is going to directly go to science, keep us ahead. We do have a pretty decent build-up of soldiers now. We're building them pretty fast. I think it's only taking like a few turns per soldier, which on epic speed is a pretty decent rate. You probably get it a little faster, but Constantinople isn't a the geography of it doesn't lend to the maximum amount of production you could get from a city, if that makes sense. Faulting the ocean tiles and stuff like that, but it's still very, very efficient. We have it's a decently it's efficient enough capital, let's put it that way. Yeah, look at that, we have 17, 17, 15, 25 over there. The population's looking real good. The most populous area is like the European theater. Once we get to Asia Minor, the population drops a little. Antioch is pretty high up, just because we did pour a lot of speed in that. Sparta is interestingly pretty low pop 8 people, which makes sense. It's not the best of city positions, and also Sparta, I don't think it was very populated throughout history. I mean, maybe now, I'm not sure. But yeah, it wasn't known for its population. Got those guys with trades. Greetings from Morocco, we've discovered them. And I think we've discovered everyone at this point. I could be wrong. No, if we had discovered everyone, then there wouldn't be like a pop-up saying we discovered everyone. World Congress is now a thing. So, I'm just moving my guy through, hoping to discover people. And we have the mine. We have maybe it's probably smart to not build a road there. Because you see me starting to move forward my dudes. The reason why I hadn't moved them forward before is because if your dudes are sitting there, then they'll be the Egyptians will ask you, "Hey, are you going to go to war with us?" And you have to say yes, unless you lie and don't care about your reputation, of course. So yeah, I was waiting to move forward my dudes until I was ready for the war. But we have decent enough numbers now. Now, if you're dealing with an equal tech level opponent, you may want to wait for a couple more dudes. You could get by with that, but you want to wait for a couple more dudes if you wanted to make sure if you get victory. But on a tech level opponent that is like below us, opponent who's like this far below our tech level, this is maybe even a little more than enough. So you see, they asked us if we're going to go to war with them. I said yes. And you can see what I was talking about here. If we had moved that cannon to like a different spot, then they would have whatchamacallit. Oh, they took our work. They would have been pretty much dead. So here we have a which is what was expected. We have them controlling the strait, so we have to get open borders real fast if we want to go ahead and discover the last of the people. And the Moroccans are pretty nice to us because we just met them. They don't have any kind of inkling of any bad reputation we may have, so they're just going to go ahead and give it to us. Dynamite would be a good tech to go for. I'm looking at it now. We'll see what I end up going for, but dynamite is useful. We're just going for railroad, so we'll get dynamite. Look, yeah, making sure we get dynamite first. Okay. Yeah, dynamite would be useful because that would give my cannons free range instead of 2. So what you saw happen to my cannon just now, with it being bombarded, it won't happen with the artillery. So yeah, I'm looking at and seeing what would work best. If I had to choose something now, I would probably choose either the Great Person or Local Happiness. But let's see what I end up choosing. You can see I'm kind of considering that. Yeah, great persons. Makes sense. Let's. That guy got shot down. And we have Bombard City with oil discovered in our lands, which works. You know, if we wanted more oil, we could easily get it. It's like, you know, filled with the desert, has like a ton of oil. You know, in Arabia and North Africa, like a ton. I'm talking a ton. Like, you know, my Arabia game in this game, I was not wanting for oil. I had like a huge tank army and everything. It was really cool. It's interesting too how they, you know, in this map do put like a lot of oil in those areas. Makes those areas actually valuable. If you have like, you know, those large pieces of land. If you want to have like a really good modern era, you know, if you want to wait to the information era so that you can get like aluminum and stuff like that, you know, it's fine. But if you wanted like to be the first person to take advantage of like modern era stuff, then you want to be able to have, you know, secure oil in this game. This placing is getting bombarded a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if it was destroyed. It just happens to be in a really bad spot between the two cities, but it wasn't destroyed. And you know, that's the advantage of having a tech level ahead of them, or really almost 2 tech levels, because they don't even have muskets right now. I kind of remember them having muskets, so I'm not going to say they don't have muskets. We'll see. So war has begun with the Egyptians, but you know, everything else in every other place seems to just be, you know, business as usual. It's one of those things where, so let me explain this before I go back to that. You saw I couldn't bombard that city. There are some terrains that artillery and stuff will have a hard time shooting over. Once you get to dynamite, it pretty much ignores those terrain problems. So you wouldn't have that problem anymore with bombarding that city when you get the dynamite artillery. So 6 turns from now we'll be solving it. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that cannon around to the shore and have it bombard from there. Because that would be like the safest spot to bombard it from. Moving the other dudes to go attack the city on the plains, because that is the more easily accessible, and I don't want my dudes just sitting between the 2 cities and getting bombarded by the 2 cities at the same time. Normally, if you're on the same tech level, you don't want to charge your infantry in before you start bombarding the city, but we're so far ahead that those rifles aren't really at risk of dying if I were to have them attack. And it does really decent damage to the city because of how strong they are. So, let's just take the play area over a little bit faster, and we'll work out better to just have them attack. What I was saying before was, because this war is, we're such in an advantageous position in this war, we don't really have to focus our cities on, you know, producing troops in order to make this victory happen. You know, some wars get really intense to where you have to like have units being produced in every city in order to be able to pull it off if you're gonna do it. But in this case, you know, it's very much a war that we can handle with the troops that we've already made, and we aren't really at risk of being invaded, because if they somehow destroyed our army and tried to push into one of our city's city strength is like double what is theirs. More than double actually, now that I'm looking at the numbers, but yeah. So there isn't really any risk, like, at all to invading the Egyptians. And, you know, so we don't have to worry about, you know, having our dudes being produced in every city. I just realized that I have the desktop audio playing, which is going to make it a little bit more of a pain in the butt to edit this, because I'm going to have to realign the audio. So that's annoying, but yeah. So we'll get, that's something I have to do in editing, so don't worry about that. Let's see what else. And that just because I was recording something else earlier. Let's see. because there's not really anywhere for that worker to run. They go to their city, I capture their city, I get my worker back. Simple as that. So yeah, things are doing really well, coming up in the house and all. That guy got bombarded. Wrecked, son. We have this guy, he's just going to fortify there till our cannons are ready to do what they need to do. Our worker here is, just staying behind our dude to make sure he doesn't get captured and he can work on stuff without getting captured. That one bombardment pretty much took care of that city for us. You can see the Egyptian army a bit better now that we've taken that city. And so it's interesting, now the city's city's strength has doubled, so we should be able to hold that. We're going to try to move that Gatling gun forward and just kind of cover our rear with the only one Gatling gun. Because we have to still protect against the barbarians, or they'll just start pillaging those improvements and capturing the workers. So we do have to keep the Gatling gun there. So we've taken over one city this episode. We're going to start moving on the other cities, and we're going to get dynamite, which is going to make the advance a lot easier after this. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna probably see like one more turn of defense and stuff like that, but yeah, I think this episode is over. You can see how much stronger the city is now that it's shooting missiles and the combat strength like double what it was. There's interestingly a lot to develop still in Egypt. Like a lot. Like the AI did not do a good job for Egypt. Maybe because it was being harassed by barbarians. Maybe there was something I didn't see when it was all covered up like that. But yeah, AI did not do a good job. So we do have a road between Jerusalem and Adrianople, and we're hoping to take over Giza pretty soon. Our cannon is in place, so we'll be able to start bombarding that city. So Elephantine should fall pretty quickly. We're going to try to deal with those units. Attacking across a river on a hill would not be advised if we were doing, a war, with equal opponents, but we are not equal tech levels. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Russell. Like, comment, favorite, subscribe if you guys want to see more. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless. Have a good one. Bye.
Like, favorite, and subscribe if you guys want to see more. Always interested in your feedback down in the comment section. You guys have a good one. God bless.